Clive Lloyd the first man to lift the trophy. But that would be just the beginning of the story. For the West Indies, that was the start of a love affair with the World Cup, which would define many of their greatest achievements. Come 1979, they were stronger still.
The 79 World Cup was the first World Cup I was involved in, and it came right after World Series cricket, because most of that team were involved in Pac and World Series cricket. And it was a feeling of getting back to the real thing, getting back to traditional cricket, getting back to representing your country again. So it was a great feeling within the team.
1975 had been an unqualified success, and as Wisden noted, the game had never provided better entertainment in one day. This time, the 6 Test nations were joined in England by Sri Lanka and Canada, who emerged from the inaugural ICC trophy. With Australia's best players contracted to World Series cricket, it was the home nation who would provide the main threat to the West Indies.
Well, it was only the second World Cup. We had a decent side, led by Mike Brearley, Geoffrey Boycott, Ian Botham at the top of his powers, David Gower, Bob Willis, some very good cricketers. So we were pretty confident in our own conditions, and we played some good cricket throughout the tournament.
Is out. Boycott struck. The crowd delirious.
2 wickets from the unheralded arm of Geoffrey Boycott set England on their way to victory against a weakened Australia side. There were flashes of brilliance from Ian Botham.
He'll have to move and he's gone. No chance at all. Really, it's been some tremendous fielding by the Englishman here. It was Ian Botham this time.
And a half-century from the impressive Graham Gooch. An early indication of the threat posed by a team playing in their preferred environment.
And the shot repeated this time, a little straighter, and it's beaten them up again. So 2 glorious shots there from the bat of Graham Gooch. Brings up the 100 for England and sets them well on the way to victory. And the 100 comes up at the end of 36 overs.
Four years earlier, the World Cup in England had been characterised by strong West Indian support. Ominously for the other teams involved, Clive Lloyd's side were looking even more dominant. For many, they remain the best one-day team to ever play the game. That long rhythmic run-up, so smooth and devastatingly quick. Michael Holding was quite some addition for the West Indies, not to mention Colin Croft and Joel Garner. For batsmen, there was no escape.
At that time now we were well entrenched as one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world. We were beating people left, right and centre. We lost a few players, but the new players that came in, the Holdings and the Roberts and Garners and so on, just fitted in quite well.
Clive Lloyd had some magnificent individuals, both with the willow and with the ball, and he managed to mould them into a, slick, lean, mean, there's any way to describe it, cricket unit.
England themselves had a nice balance, with players like Boycott, Brearley, Gower, Botham and Willis. But it was Gooch again who made the biggest impression in their fluctuating semi-final with New Zealand. 221 for 8, though, would leave them vulnerable. Mike Hendrick, who would end as the tournament's leading wicket-taker, with 3 important breakthroughs to edge England home by 9 runs. An Old Trafford capacity crowd of 22,000 had seen their team do just enough to earn a place in their first World Cup final. Now all they had to do was beat the best team on the planet. In the Caribbean, the tournament continued to weave its way into the affections of a cricket-loving public. The Stars of '79 will always be remembered. The relationship between the West Indies and the World Cup, one of mutual admiration.
Well, there you see what the West Indies boys think. It's a long way to go yet.
Gordon Greenwich had a new partner in Desmond Haynes, the two making their mark in the semi-final against Pakistan, but this was a team effort and beyond.
We had guys there who would fit in, even if they weren't a permanent member. If one of the guys dropped in, they fitted right in. And I always remember what Bob Paisley said, the Liverpool manager, who said the best two teams in England were Liverpool and Liverpool reserves. And I think if you have a great side, you must have great reserves.
Sarfraz to Collis King.
King was a good example. His cameo of 34 off 25 balls underlined the depth of their squad.
They were really the pioneers of what we call the modern aggressive game now. Fantastic to watch, not so much fun to play against.
In reply, Majid Khan and Zahir Abbas showed defiance and no little skill in a second-wicket partnership of 166.
Picked that up beautifully.
It's a lovely stroke. It's his half-century and Richards has no chance, even on two good legs, of cutting that off.
But Colin Croft would break Pakistan's resolve.
As a count, he's out. Javed Miandad out. Close ball, LBW to Croft.
Three of the middle-order wickets fell to Viv Richards. More than just a batsman, here was a multi-dimensional player with strong motivation.
He had this swagger, that confidence that he could do anything, his confidence in his own ability. And also, behind him was the fact that his father, for instance, and many others like him, didn't have the opportunity because Antigua, the Windward Islands, the Leeward Islands were not in the mainstream of West Indies cricket, and therefore effectively could not qualify to play for West Indies. And he had that opportunity. He said, "Look, I'm going to make the most of it," and he did.
Oh, what a marvellous piece of fielding. A super piece of cricket, that.
And so, on to Lords once more. England with home advantage, but one man was intent on being centre stage. The body language alone demanded respect.
He said, "Good morning, man. How are you, man?" I said, "Fine, Viv." And he said, he'd wink to me, and you know, he never said another word. Then he used to get, magnificent player.
Coming to the crease at 22 for 1, he would go on to score a brilliant 138 not out.
That's the best shot today. Right out of the textbooks, that one.
And I never liked this calypso tag that they gave us, that we were flamboyant cricketers. No, I wanted to create a side that had, who can, when things were tight, that they'd be able to think through those situations.
Those days there weren't the fielding restrictions that you have got in modern one-day cricket. And with such a big score, we just thought...
Formidable team. And of course, when you get behind the rate against those guys, how do you hit Michael Holding and Joel Garner and all these guys around the ground? The answer is you don't.
Gooch is gone, and that is real trouble for the England.
The greatest team ever to play the game? They certainly make a persuasive argument. But in terms of the World Cup, that West Indies side of 1979 will always be the standard bearers, the men who reinvented the game, the subject of great reverence back home in the Caribbean and beyond.